The other day, my dad was in town visiting my sisters and I, and we went out to breakfast at Macy's, which is a local coffee shop here in Flagstaff, owned by a Baha'i. And while we were there, we were discussing Black Lives Matter movement and the execution of George Floyd and all that has been going around. For those of you who don't know, my dad is black. Member of the BMG, March with Dr. King. Not that any of that is relevant to what I'm going to be rambling about today. But these are kind of just some thoughts that came out of that and that I've just been thinking about in my mind. And also it seems like a good time to record this, especially since the conversation around the injustices performed upon to black people and other minorities in this country that was recently brought to the forefront again with the execution of George Floyd. It just seemed like a good idea, good time to make this. I've been meaning to make it since the conversation. And so he posed the question about what's the difference between Black Lives Matter, BLM, and the people of the I, which I'm going to call POTE in the title of this. For those of you who don't know, in the Baha'i faith, the people of the I is what Baha'i compares black people to. There's a quote, and the only version I could find of it was from Abdul Baha in London, pages 127, in which he references it. Baha'u'llah once compared the colored people to the black pupil of the eye surrounded by the white. In this black pupil, you see the reflection of that which is before it, and through it the light of the Spirit shines forth. So, we talked about, we compared Black Lives Matter versus People of the Eye, and how my thoughts on it were that People of the Eye is more mystical, more spiritual, whereas Black Lives Matter gets kind of to the heart of it. And to be clear, this is about the movement that Black Lives Matter and what it stands for, and not the organization that kind of orchestrated it, because they also have various political affiliations at a partisan level, which, as I understand it, is what they have going on. And as Baha'is, we try not to participate in that. But, so Black Lives Matter is very much just saying, hey, we're all equal, you're being very unjust to black lives, have been for centuries at this point, and needs to change. So it's not saying that everyone else doesn't matter, it's just saying that right now we need to focus on those being oppressed so that all can be equal. Which is great. People of the I, though, seems to cover a bit more, go into a bit more depth. Not so much, it doesn't, so Baha'u'llah once compared the colored people to the black people of the eye, surrounded by the white, as in, at this point, potentially being a minority, surrounded by white people, at least in the U.S., and this is from, what I'm reading from is from a talk in London, which would also be in England, where black people are the minority and white people are the majority. In this black people, you see the reflection of that which is before it. So black people reflect the society with black people reflect the society which they are in. And so if you don't like what you see when you look at black people, you don't like the society you're in, but you don't want to change it because you benefit from said society, but you don't like what you see. And through that through the people, you see the light of the Spirit shining forth. In black people, you see the light of humanity And my dad asked me for my thoughts on that, my mind went to the trauma, the trials that black people have been put through and have endured in this country, the U.S. And my thoughts on it were that because of the trials and tribulations and the oppression and the long-lasting effects of that black people have, Baha'is too, but black people have been put through for centuries, is why black people are able to create such art today. And if you don't know what I mean by that, hip-hop, rock, jazz, blues, there's soul, funk, gospel, many more than I'm missing, I'm sure. Those music types were created by black people, and they're loved by society, by millions and billions of people, even though black people don't necessarily get credit for that, and that's problematic. But that's also like the light of humanity, and black people created that. And so when I think about people of the eye, and specifically you can see the light of the spirit shining forth. Yeah, you can see the light of the spirit shining forth, which will make sure I'm not messing around with the quote in my mind to fit my point. Black people are the light of society, so we should nurture that. And without black people, you don't get society to a degree is just kind of dark. Dark might not be the right word. Also kind of funny, but nah, dark might not be the right word. Society as a whole is kind of just devoid of light. I'm not saying that white people and other races can't create art and beautify the world and the space in which they inhabit. Just a lot of, at least in today, a lot of it is imitating or being inspired by replicating what black people have done. And so I think about how Black Lives Matter talks about the oppression that black people have gone through. And, well, it doesn't talk so much about it. It says that it happened, saying, okay, this is the work that needs to be done. Stop killing us, and let's move forward. Whereas Pupil of the Eye, I feel, delves a bit more into the history and what that pain, the beauty that it has brought forth. And this, of course, might just be me trying to prove my point, and I recognize that, and I'm really hoping that that's not what I'm doing. But it's very possible that that's what it is. Yeah. Black Lives Matter is great. I feel like Pupil of the Eye, while mystical, more mystical, so therefore it doesn't necessarily appeal to a broader audience. Whereas, like, you can say Black Lives Matter, and what that means, for the most part, is fairly clear. Or you say Pupil of the Eye, and people think you're just talking about this. Which, in a sense, you are, but also you're not. Because also, at the same time, without the pupil of the eye, you're blind. And so, we keep pushing down and trying to oppress the pupil of the eye. Society, the U.S., is trying to silence, is trying to blind itself And if you can't see, you miss out on a lot. So as I understand it, I'm not blind. I have two very working eyes that are actually, this light's not doing too much good for them. But yeah, I'm Edward Peace. This was Black Lives Matter. This is Black Lives Matter being compared to the Pupil of the Eye. Granted, I don't think that, in the grand scheme of things, comparing a man-made organization to a message from God, or a message from a mouthpiece of God, or a message from a manifestation of God, comparing it to God, like, does it justice? Does the People of the Eye justice comparing it to Black Lives Matter? But I think it's an interesting way to phrase it, to frame it, and potentially for more people to see it. And these are partially just me making them for me. And if they help someone else, great. I'm thinking I might try and make more about other topics and quotes. Just ramble on a little bit. Yeah, this is Edward Peace, and this was Ramblings of a Trying Baha'i.